Hi, Siri. I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. Live edition of Matthews in the Morning coming to you from the International Diamond Center Studios, locations across the state of Florida, right there in Celebration Point in the heart of Gator Nation. If you got HVAC issues, give our friends at Comfort Temp Heating and Air a call. They're your number one local HVAC company. Go visit them at comforttemp.com. Today's show, we'll have JC, and then we'll have David Waters from Gators Breakdown join the program, get his thoughts on Gator football program, what direction he thinks they will go. If you missed it last night, Dodgers take a 2-0 lead. And tonight we resume the ALCS, where the Mariners are looking to make it to their first World Series. They got to win 2 more games. JC here on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. I want to give a shout out to the good folks over at the St. Augustine Gator Club. I had to speak there last night, had a good time. Basically just laid it down for them and told them how it is. What's going on?
They had no problem with that, I'm sure. They were looking for answers.
No, I told them, I said, I spoke here last year. I'm getting ready to tell you all the same damn thing I told you last year.
Yeah. St. Augustine, great city, great town. St. Johns County, fantastic place. That's where I'm registered to vote. Love it, St. Augustine. QB, you also, I think, said, and see, you notice how I always give you props when I remember some of your geniuses. Seattle, you had Seattle, the Mariners, and they have absolutely just come into Toronto and really smacked the Blue Jays.
Well, I have to give my man AJ Brzezinski, which we're going to try to get him on right before the World Series starts. But I talked to him or text with him the other day. I said, I know you like Seattle. I said, but who's going to win the World Series? He goes, the Dodgers.
Yeah. And you know, Milwaukee had a 6-0 record against LA this season. And it just goes to show you that just doesn't mean anything anymore when we get to the playoffs. And when the pitching comes through, the Dodgers are pretty much unbeatable. It doesn't matter where you're playing them. Their pitching is just that good. And when it's healthy, you know, Freddie Freeman, he's been there, done that. Yesterday, it was Max Muncy hitting a long ball, getting them going. Teoscar is outstanding. Mookie Betts. This is just, but I'll tell you what Seattle has though, QB, and I noticed this, and this is what reminds me of some of those old Yankee teams with the pitching. They are deep. And when you're deep in the pitching rotation, when you're deep in pitching, you'll always be in it on a playoff scenario because it's a series. It's not a long season. It's just a couple, 4 out of 7, 3 out of 5 kind of thing. And when you're deep with the arms, you're gonna have an advantage. So that was a good pick. I did not see Seattle, but they do have that pitching, and that's what's kept them pretty good throughout the year. They won their division, of course, and they are in the driver's seat to win the American League.
Andy on Facebook Live, who is our NFL correspondent, because he follows the NFL closely, especially the Chicago Bears. He says, Did you see that Anthony Richardson is on the IR? Colts could sign Trask or Jeff Driscoll in the coming days. Yeah, AR got hurt, JC, in pregame warmup.
That's a stunner. Just there are some guys, QB, and you know this, that are just prone to injury. You can't depend on them. Yeah. You know who else is that way is this linebacker Milano for Buffalo. You could see how bad Buffalo's defense was against Atlanta, who just did anything they wanted.
There's a difference, though, JC.
There's a difference.
Matt Milano has had multiple car wrecks in his career.
Oh, well, good point.
I'm talking about like every damn play in the National Football League.
No doubt. I mean, I hear you, but linebacker is a position that I just wouldn't expect your players to always be out, like running backs say, or wide receivers. I don't know. Buffalo is really got a problem defensively. It was exposed the other night, and it's too bad because Josh Allen's probably got, until he starts slowing down with the way he plays, 3 years, 4 years of true health. And I don't know if Buffalo's wasting him right now. I know there's a lot of frustration with the Buffalo Bills fans, and it's too bad because I've been rooting for them. But defensively, that's not a team that's going to win the AFC.
No, they always have people hurt on the defense.
Yeah, they always have people hurt, and the Patriots, Vrabel has got them playing and believing again. So New England is now in the lead by virtue of their head-to-head win against Buffalo in that division.
31 in Burr asked, is AR a bust, or did the Colts reach when they drafted him?
Bust.
Is he to blame, or were the expectations were too high?
Too high.
I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
Because I coached against a kid in high school. Great athlete, not a good quarterback.
There you go.
He was the same player. He was the same player in high school, same player in college, and he's the same player in the pros. JC,
dear.
throw completions.
Yeah, I mean that's right. It was surprising me too because Shane Steichen, he's an offensive guy. He knows offense, and look at what they're doing right now. The Colts, they're in first place in their division and in a good position to win that division with Daniel Jones. I think Jones was a guy that I think people had the right read on him. He was just in a bad situation in New York. Not many players.
He's a good player. Very good player.
And he's turned out to be really something with a running back and an offensive line that they have in Indianapolis that's just made him so much more effective. Pittman's catching everything. The Colts are a real team. So, QB, I am foaming at them. I can't wait to get on Win with JC tomorrow at 8:30. We'll have Brian Edwards. We'll have our fantastic producer, Zach, who just came in and dunked on us both yesterday or last week with the Texas A&M Aggies pick. We both went with Florida. He just said, "Come up, get real, guys." So very well done by Zach, our producer. We'll have that. But I am foaming at the mouth on the card of these games, dude. I love some of these games. I'm absolutely crazy about some of these games. They look so good to me with the way these lines are spread out. And I will have you know that you've got a couple of teams. You're ready for my JC's top 12, right, QB? I mean, that's what you want to hear.
You're going to give it to us right now?
Some of these teams in the top 12 are getting massive numbers in their games this weekend. We start with Miami at 1 and Ohio State at 2. I'm not going to change that until there's a reason to, but I've got Indiana.
I would put Ohio State number 1, JC. They're the defending national champs.
That's a good point, but I think Miami has looked better. And if you ask me on a neutral field, who would be favored, Miami or Ohio State, what would you say? Would you say Ohio State?
Ohio State on a neutral field by 3.
By 3? Well, I've got Indiana at 3. I've got Mississippi at 4 and Texas A&M at 5. And then I go into Texas Tech, Alabama. I've got Georgia and Georgia Tech 8 and 9. Oregon down to 10. I still think they're a good team. And then Southern California I have at 11 and BYU at 12. And what I really love about what I'm seeing out of Lincoln Riley and USC QB is that they are running the hell out of that football. And it is just creating great opportunities for Jaden Mayava. And I think people forget that USC, I think they're statistically one of the top 3 teams in the country running the football. Mm-hmm. And people always think of Lincoln Riley as the aerial guy, and he is, but he runs the football. They did it last year as well. They just didn't do it enough or in the right situations. Miller Moss was stuck with a lot of passing opportunities or responsibilities. But, man, they are running the football, and I love that matchup this weekend against Notre Dame. I really do. I love USC in that game.
I like the Trojans, too, in that. We got a text here from Ryan on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. He says, Buddy doesn't know the QB's name from Indiana, doesn't watch the biggest game and win in Indiana history. That's an uninformed voter if I've ever seen one. Well, I'm glad he's such great friends with Urban and can forget what a dumpster fire it was at the end of that. Look,
it was.
I don't know if Buddy's still a Heisman. I can't remember what that conversation was because I told him I thought the leader in the clubhouse right now is either Ty Simpson or Fernando Mendoza. You didn't know who Fernando was. Mendoza's a very good player, transfer from Cal. He's completing over 70% of the passes, thrown 17 touchdowns, I think 1 or 2 interceptions, bunch of yards. Very good player.
Very good player.
Fernando Mendoza is your Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, and this guy Signetti, QB, this is a great story. In 2011, I think, or 2010, sometime back then, he was an assistant coach for Nick Saban. He made $320,000. He then decided, you know what, I want to do this myself. And he took a 66% pay cut to earn about $110,000, $120,000 at the Indiana University of Pennsylvania or something.
Well, I forgot he went there first.
He was the
IUPI.
Yes, he was the head coach. He was the head coach there and did remarkable things. And now He can name his price.
And he went to James Madison and did very well.
And just did phenomenal. And they would have been a team that should have gotten some sort of opportunity when they went undefeated, but they didn't have a postseason for some reason. I guess they made a deal with the NCAA to go to FBS from FCS, and that required them, for whatever reason, to have to miss a year of being eligible for the playoffs. But they were undefeated and the best FCS team, in my opinion. Signetti is a winner. Now, another winner that we really have to look at, Texas A&M. Mike Elko is a savant, a defensive savant. Do you realize, QB, when he was coaching defense at Wake Forest for Dave Clawson, who I always thought should have been a good candidate here at Florida. I thought Dave Clawson was
He's not even coaching anymore.
I know, but back in the days, he had an offensive mind that we should have really paid attention to, but he was under the radar. Anyway, back to Elko. He was Dave Clawson's defensive coordinator. They lost in, I don't know what year it was, when his first year as defensive coordinator. Wake Forest lost 3 games, holding the opponent to single digits in scoring. This guy then goes to Notre Dame with Brian Kelly. They start learning how to play defense. And now at Texas A&M, that stat you threw out about third down conversion rate percentage, and nobody converting on fourth down, is spectacular. So you have to pay attention to Texas A&M. I do think Bobby Petrino is going to get the ball in the end zone this weekend, but I am so impressed with Mike Elko.
Yeah, he can coach. There's no question.
He did it at Duke.
Huh?
He did it at Duke too.
Yeah. Rick from Jupiter says, yesterday I noticed a few Gator media outlets saying win or lose this week, Napier's probably fired, with Lane and Freeman being the top 2 candidates. What are your thoughts on Freeman if they miss on Lane? I don't have a problem with Marcus Freeman. I think he's a good football coach. I want an offensive guy. I know Marcus would probably bring in some kind of offensive guy, but I don't know who that would be.
Yeah.
I just think Lane is the perfect fit. Do whatever you got to do to get him. Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's been our guy for what, a year and a half now, QB? Has it been a year and a half?
It's been multiple years since I've been saying that.
Well, I mean,
I've lost track.
I'm on that wagon with you riding along. I've
lost track. Chris and Mayak on the Titan Mar text line says, tell JC I'm done betting the Gators regardless of the line. I'm taking Mississippi State in the points.
Good idea. Good idea. I did that with Texas laying the points and got buried. But yes, I'm with you, brother. I've seen enough. I've seen enough.
So John says to you, JC, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mall, if Clawson was so good offensively, why did Wake Forest lose 3 games when the opponent scored single digits?
No, that's true. In that time, they weren't. But there was, I think, over his career, he
got to look at the body of work. Too many people want to look at one game here.
Right. What was his name? Sam Hartman. I mean, we had a quarterback that played at Wake Forest that eventually went to Notre Dame. And so, Dave Clawson was a very good offensive coach. I'm sorry, he was. You just have to go through his career. But yes, there were 3 games when Elko was the DC, and they didn't have much on that team. But they held 3 teams to single digits and lost. That's just remarkable.
MSRK says on YouTube, brought to you by Quad Plan, as much as Lagway gets hurt with a new coach, keep him or bring him his own QB. We don't know the answer to that. I think what. And I was discussing this last night at the Gator Club in St. Augustine.
Yeah.
Because I think I look at all of college football, right, JC? I think a lot of our fans, you look at whatever, you're the fan, your team, you're the fan of that team.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people there are so many good quarterbacks around America. If you have the right coach that understands that position, they're going to bring in their own guy that fits what they want to do.
Yeah.
Whether it's the footwork, whether it's the accuracy, whether it's the anticipation, can the guy run? A lot of factors come into that. The new coach may love DJ, but he may want to bring his own guy in. And it's the same way with wide receivers or linebackers or DBs, right?
Yeah.
Let the coach bring his players in.
Yeah, that's right. That's how it works.
With it.
That's how it works.
Do not work. I tell people this right now. I don't give a damn when recruiting comes, who we recruit this year in high school. I don't care about any of that. If you don't hire the right coach, none of that matters. Well,
our tall offensive lineman friend who's playing with our other tall offensive lineman friend somewhere in South, I don't know where they're at, but they're playing golf. And he says, if Billy goes, all the players are going with him. I
Who
said,
cares?
well, yeah. I said, that's a big deal. This is how it is in college football, man. And you're going to love the next guy if he gets the ball in the end zone just as much as
I don't care if they have you playing fullback,
right.
JC.
It doesn't a full.
Doesn't matter.
Are we running the pistol?
We'll line up in the eye. Somebody wanted us to run the eye the other day. I'm fine. JC at fullback.
I'll hit you. But I think it's crazy, isn't it? I mean, look at what the guy at Indiana's doing with his guys. Lane Kiffin made Blake Sims a passer.
Let's be honest. If you have the right guy, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is because none of the 12 quarterbacks that Coach Spurrier coached were highly. I don't know if they had stars back in those days. The highest one was Brock Berlin, and
Grossman was pretty big.
But he recruited himself. Spurrier didn't recruit him. Grossman came down and said, "I'd like to come play here."
Yeah, well, that's kind of like Spurrier recruiting.
Bobby Sablehouse, he was the number one player. Those guys never took a snap.
No.
I mean, Brock did. He ended up transferring. Anyway, text on the Titan Mar text line. I was born in 2002. I vaguely remember the Tebow era. So it's true that my generation hasn't truly seen the Gator dominance everyone talks about. That being said, Florida has too much heritage, resources, and reputation to settle for 8-4. I agree. I don't know if you were on the program when I was talking about that, or maybe I was talking about it on our other show at WRUF. Think about the kids that are in school at the journalism school.
Yeah, they don't know.
They have no idea what it's like to win at Florida.
Yeah, the kids playing today were in diapers when the last time Florida won an SEC championship, much less a national championship. They were in diapers. So, yeah, it's true. And, that's why it's just so alarming that it's been 17 years since the last SEC championship.
Tony says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon, should we pursue a coach that will be able to use our current players or hire someone who needs to retool? You do not worry about what's on your roster. You find the best coach for your program to make you irrelevant next year.
What Dion did with Travis Hunter and his kid, right? They brought him over.
Yeah, but I mean, Cignetti brought his James Madison players to Indiana last year.
Sure, yeah.
I think too many people get enamored with recruiting classes. I don't care about that. Hire the right coach, you will win.
You got to have the right people in place. That's right. Yep.
Yes. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union. We're a proud member, Stephen Orr Spurrier Banks.
Billy brought one of the most unheralded running backs we've ever had here, Montrell Johnson. He was excellent. And, that was one of Billy's guys. But so that's what's going to happen. Is the new guy's going to bring in his folks, and you're going to love.
Would you like for me to read This Day in Sports, or you want to talk about
Montrell? I mean, go ahead. Let's hear about
1988. With 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. An injured Kirk Gibson hits a dramatic 2-run homer to give the Dodgers a 5-4 win over the A's in the first game of the World Series.
Yeah, the Oakland A's.
Barely got around the
bases. Yeah. The low pitch, he just stuck his bat out there, and
he just kind of dropped the head of the bat.
Flew out, and it just flew out. Yeah, it's the damn Dodgers, I'll tell you. It's just...
Here's a text on the Titan Mar text line from Chris and Mayaka. Regardless of who leaves, Lane has proven he can win with mercenaries every year through the portal. Who cares who leaves?
I
agree 1,000%.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. QB, there are other jobs, and this is the thing. Now that Penn State's in the mix, Arkansas is in the mix.
Well, he ain't got. He don't give a damn about either one of those jobs.
Oh, you're talking about Lane? Yeah.
Rick from Jupiter says, QB, what are your thoughts, not for the Gator job, on a young up-and-coming Eric Morris? Incredible pedigree and learning under Mike Leach and Mahomes. Cam Ward and Mateer are all giving him high praise. Keep an eye on him the next 3 to 5 years. I think he's a great coach. He's the head coach at North Texas, but he coached Cam Ward at Incarnate Word, and then I think he also coached Mahomes. He was like a coach on that staff when Mahomes was at Texas Tech. He also coached with Mateer. Very good coach. I could see him moving up to like a Memphis or something like that after the Memphis coach takes a job, or Tulane.
Yeah, that'll be the next type of stop for him. So here's Clint. Clint wants to know on YouTube, QB, are you concerned that Lane is having players fake injuries to slow the clock?
I don't give a damn.
I don't care about that.
He wins games.
I don't care about that. I think he's talking about, are you worried about Lane's character? I think Lane's character's fine. He's a football coach. He wants to win games. He gets players.
None
They
of
love
that
him.
matters.
No, they love him. They love him. And in Mississippi, he's the king of Oxford. I mean, he's the king of the state, basically, right now.
Josh from Wamama says, QB on a side note, I've run out of all my Gator Kool-Aid. My cup is empty. It'll remain dry until next season. Because I told him last week, everybody was drinking the Kool-Aid after we beat Texas.
It has been a roller coaster for the poor Gator fans. I think they'll show up and be a big crowd on Saturday. It is homecoming. That's important. A lot of folks will be coming in that typically won't come. So that'll fill up the stadium. Mississippi State had a week off. This is a team that believes that it's much better than it was last year, and it is. But they've had some bad losses here lately. The last 2 games they've played, should have beaten Tennessee, didn't, gave it away, and really got kind of overmatched by Texas A&M. Florida can do the same thing to Mississippi State as it did to Texas, or it could play just like it did against South Florida and get beat. So I have no idea what we're going to see on Saturday. Zero. No idea.
Gallo Car Wash is locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. Locations on Northwest 13th Street, Wilson Road, and coming soon to Jonesville. CK says, Shane, you keep saying Vernell's catch bounced off the ground last Saturday. The replay clearly showed the ball touched the ground but did not move. That is why it was uphill. Okay. 5 dudes sitting in the radio booth thought it was an incomplete pass. I guess you can look at it however you want to look. I thought it clearly moved and it clearly bounced off the ground. Doesn't really matter, but I'm calling it as I saw it. That's what I saw. Obviously, the referee saw something different.
QB Clint also wants to know if Lane decides to that he's had enough at Mississippi, which I think will depend on how they do this year. Do you think Florida or Auburn has a better chance to get
Florida?
You say Florida.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't think this year matters how he does. I
think if he wins something special at Mississippi, they won't let him go. The money will be too good.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter?
I don't think it matters.
If he wins an SEC or gets to the playoffs and plays for a national championship, you don't think that matters? You think he'll just skate after that?
I do.
If he wins?
I think if we offer him the job, he takes it.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, there you go, everybody. There's your coach. If they give him,
well, JC, again, remember
it comes down to them offering.
There is a key word in my statement.
Oh, if. Okay.
Offer.
I know, if they offer him. Right.
Yes.
Well, if he wins at Mississippi. Well, wait a minute.
If they don't, there is a serious problem.
If he wins the SEC at Mississippi, of which, by the way, I have a 22-1 pick. If he wins the SEC at Mississippi and wins in the playoffs, you don't think he'll be offered? Of course he's going to be offered.
I'm just saying. I don't give a damn if he loses this week, loses next week.
Yeah.
It should be an offer to him.
Well, I'm taking the 8.5, 9 points against Georgia. I think that number is way too big.
I know, but again, if they were to lose this week, I don't want to hear one damn person say he couldn't beat Georgia because he clocked them last year. I don't care about specific games, people.
I know you don't. You want a system.
I look at bodies of work.
Yeah, sure. You want a system. You want a coach. You want the way he does things to come to Florida. It's simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've never seen a more layup hire for a program in my entire life. I really, JC, we're going to do tomorrow or Friday, maybe we're going to do like guess where these coaches are going to go.
Okay.
I think Matt Rule will be the next coach at Penn State.
There he is.
His best friend is the damn head, the AD. They look like twin brothers.
They do.
Just alike. Although I think you're taking a step down from James Franklin because Matt Rule has a losing record.
Yeah. Well, James Franklin may be looking at. Apparently, there's a clause in his contract. I heard this on the radio, and I couldn't believe it.
He's got to go. He's got to get a broadcasting job or got to get another job
to get paid. Yeah. But I mean, that's a very interesting way of negotiating. That's not a Jimmy Sexton way, I would think, but it is an interesting way that Penn State brought that to the table, and they took it. He's going to go to UCLA, I think, and I think that's.
Somebody told me Jed Fish wanted the UCLA. I'm gonna
Jed Fish is hopping around like it. No, I think it's James Franklin over there because I think in Los Angeles he would do great things, getting kids to play at UCLA. He's a good recruiter, right? And somebody needs to stand up to USC. UCLA, man, that's That could be a great turnaround story for James Franklin if he were to get. He did it at Vanderbilt. He can do it at UCLA.
Yeah.
And I love Vanderbilt, by the way, too, this weekend. God.
Yeah, I did too. Daryl on YouTube brought by Quad Plum says, Shane, when you were at Kyle Field, was that the highest you've ever been up in a booth? Yes, clearly. I kid you not. People laugh.
I saw
people talk about. I made a comment during the broadcast. When the sun was out, before it set behind their stands, the birds were actually flying below us.
So, QB, how many floors was it on the elevator when you were taking the ride up there? Like how long?
That I don't know. I don't. It only has like 4 or 5 floors because you only have
4 or 5
sections above the top of the stadium.
All right, yeah, that makes sense. But my God, I did see a picture of it. It's right underneath the overhang there on that.
There is no overhang. We
not.
are the overhang.
You are the over. Okay, that's.
It's at the very top of the stadium. There is no overhang.
It
would be. It's still not equivalent, but it would be like the press box on top of the suites at Ben Hill Griffin, but that's still not nearly as high as it is.
That is amazing. Who the hell would want to sit up there and watch a football game? You got to be kidding me.
Well, we don't have a choice. The media have to be up there.
No, I mean fans. All the fans are below you, and they're right there, right on top of you.
And they're swaying and doing all their stuff. All right, so real quick before we get out of here, Gator Man says on YouTube, brought to you by Quad Plum, do we need Ole Miss to miss the playoffs, or does it not matter either way? In my opinion, it does not matter. It does not matter. Some people are like, we got to get the guy. No, we don't. We don't. You hire the right guy, kids will come play. The logo and the coach will bring them.
I think the mistake they've made, the last 4 mistakes were made because it was the guy that everybody was hot for. They signed Billy Napier to this ridiculous contract because they didn't want him going somewhere else. It was stupid, and it showed incompetence. And so now the guy, there are many the guys out there, but you want the right person to come in and bring his system of success and player attraction to your program, and that's what you're explaining to the loyalists.
Yeah. Clint Irby says, I could see Auburn hiring Jeff Brom. With our luck, they do it, and they light it up. Look, I think he's a phenomenal coach. I just don't know if he's going to leave his alma mater and want to come into the SEC. I don't know what he's making there, but I feel like Louisville has money.
Yeah.
And they'll be willing to pay him.
Yeah, that's where he played, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's happy right now. There's another guy who's had a great year, but nobody talks about, and nobody here will be interested in. But Scott Satterfield at Cincinnati's had a great year, and they are right in the hunt for the Big 12. Scott Satterfield, and by the way, Duke with Manny Diaz is in the hunt for the ACC because that game against NC State that they played did not count.
Didn't count. Yeah, the ACC always has one of those games a year.
What is that? So, but Duke's alive in the ACC as well. Duke has got some big games coming up. Manny Diaz, great job, but he's not the guy you want here. You want an offense.
No, dude, like I said, I have a better chance of being the next coach than Manny Diaz.
Okay, well, I don't trust
him on the list.
QB, I'm just not faithful of what's going on over there.
Well, that's fine, but we're not hiring Manny Diaz.
I get it. I know.
All right, last text on the Titan Mar text line. Alberta says, QB, do you think Kiffin gets too cute with his game day coaching? My whole point to my buddies at the firm,
I think he's learned.
Kiffin losing to Napier was 14. Yeah. Last year, there's no question. Lane went for it 5 times on 4th down. They were 1 for 5. But also, they still had a chance to win or tie the game.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart did not play very well in that game.
No, he did that against Alabama, too. He went for it in his own territory.
Yeah.
Crazy gambling. But
right.
I think he's
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But he has not done that as much this year.
He's learned from that. I think he's learned from that. Totally think he's
But again, if he makes those, everybody loves it.
That's right. But, when you fail over and over again, maybe you ought to try. That's something different. That's all.
All right, JC, have a good day. Right. We'll be waiting on all your glorious picks tomorrow.
JC wins at 8:30 following your segment, and then we'll be back again, of course, on Friday for our Peachland Dental Picks contest.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort.
Win with JC.
Time out. We'll come back. We'll talk with a level-headed Gator reporter, David Waters from Gators Breakdown. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila, Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Naysayers. Setbacks. Injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Coach, you know what always impressed me? How you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave, Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros tequila, smooth enough to drink neat, bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Miapa Latin Cafe is proud to support Gator Nation for 22 years. New location in Alachua, new building, same great food, served with a smile. Check out one of their 5 locations today. That is Miapa Latin Cafe. Back to the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're joined by David Waters from Gators Breakdown. Does a tremendous job covering the Gators. Appreciate you coming on, David. How you doing, buddy?
Good, Shane. I need some of that Cuban coffee.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee, but hell, I may start. Dave, where do we start? First of all, just let's talk about the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Can the Gators beat Mississippi State?
Yeah, they can. This is a much better Mississippi State team than Florida saw a year ago.
Yes.
With Jeff Lebby in his first year, but beat a really good Arizona State team, and that was at home in Starkville. Coulda, shoulda, woulda beat Tennessee in that game. So it's a much better team. Shane, to me, I think Florida is the better team, but
Yeah.
with how the season has gone so far and all the off-field conversations, do they use that as motivation and come out and play good once again, or do they kind of fall flat with just everything that's going on? So I have no idea what. Most of the time they show up at home for Billy Napier, but how many times can you keep going back to that well, I guess is the question I ask. So it's a much better Mississippi State team. This isn't just one you can roll out there and just say, all right, we can go out there with our CB performance and go take a win. And Florida's going to have to play good on Saturday.
Yeah. Looking at Florida through 6 games, I would say the thing that struck me the most, we had a lot of preseason pub about our offensive line play, right? One of the top 5 in America, Pro Football Focus, however they grade it. I just don't think they played very well at all this year. I mean, Texas may be the one game where we dominated the line of scrimmage, but other than that, I feel like we've been pushed around a lot.
And Shane, I mean, and people were saying we were nitpicking, but you saw it against LIU game
Yeah.
one, and it was just like, whoa, okay, all right. And into the offseason now, like I've been hit on Gators breakdowns about how critical I've been of the offensive line dating back to last year. And admittedly, they played better, last year, but I kept going back to when DJ took over, it was still a lot of him avoiding sacks and shoving defenders off. And it was like, they're still not at the level I wanted to be. Did they turn around in the run game a bit last year to help in that 4-game win stretch to end the year? Sure they did, but I was still like, they got to take another step, and that's in the pass blocking area, and they still haven't done that. And there was a lot of being made about 4 or 5 returning, and Saturday night against Texas A&M was a perfect example. Those were the 2 most experienced offensive lines in the SEC coming into the season, and one looked like they belonged, and the other did not whatsoever. So, and they saw a matchup there with Austin Barber that not other many teams are taking advantage of, but they saw something there, and it didn't matter who Austin Barber was lined up against. They were coming around him mostly speed rush, but they were coming around him a good bit, no matter who they lined up there. So, yeah, they haven't been consistent in the run game either. That's where you kind of the bread and butter of the offensive line. But they haven't been consistent there either. But yeah, Shane, it did stick in my mind coming into this season that there was another step for that offensive line to take. But not only did they not take the next step, it looks like they've regressed in some ways as well.
Yeah. I think it was this week in Billy's presser. I don't go to the press conferences. I don't listen to them either. But
Yeah.
somebody was saying how he mentioned, with DJ not being 100%, the run game's not there from the QB.
Yeah.
I guess my question, I know DJ is the franchise quarterback. They paid a lot of money. They invested in him. I get all that. And he's talented. But like Coach Spurrier said, when a guy's struggling, it's okay for him to go to the bench for a couple of series. Do you think during the course of the year, what you've seen so far, that they should have given Trammell a couple series? And again, we don't know. I mean, Trammell looked great against Long Island. I think he has a good feel of the game. And I'm not picking on DJ, but sometimes if our right tackle or our outside linebackers hurt, they play somebody else.
Yeah. I go back to the LSU game, with the interceptions that piled up, and it was like, I'm not asking to bench DJ for the rest of his career or anything like that, but man, go settle him down somewhere. Go let him look at it from another view, another avenue to say, all right, here's what we can do. The coaches could have done some things to help him out too, but just far as play calls and not just throwing it up in so many passing situations when the game was still in reach, leaning on that run game a bit more. They're asking their quarterback to do a lot. They are asking DJ to do a lot, but. Shane, the revelation of DJ being injured and not being able to run came from a question of, hey, why isn't there more 4 receiver sets? And it was, are we going to keep a tight end in to help us in the run game? And we're going to use the RPO in that avenue. Not RPO where your quarterback can run, but it was RPO where, okay, it's either going to be a handoff to Jaden Ball or we can just fling it out to a receiver. So the conversation stemmed from that. But, in a lot of RPO, there's 3 options. It's the quarterback can run, or you can hand it off to the running back, or it's a pass. Well, right now it's only 2. Teams aren't afraid of DJ running. So I'm even kind of going to your point. Yeah, don't bench DJ, but even to the point of give Trammell just some snaps to have the defense prepare for something else. Have some drives where they have to worry about a quarterback running. I'm not saying he takes 60 snaps a game, but we asked ourselves when Graham Mertz was quarterback, how can they work DJ in? How can they work DJ in? Okay, well, how can they work Trammell in? Don't bench DJ, but if you want to run your full offense at least for a few drives a game, I think there's an avenue to do so.
Joseph says here on Facebook Live for you, question, David, is your call-ins from fans through Twitter or X? I guess he's talking about your program. How do people call into your program?
So I have on Gators Breakdown Plus, I do it's on the Gators Breakdown Plus Discord. I have a Discord where I can set up a chat in that. So that is not trying to sell myself here, Shane, but that is a member benefit of Gators Breakdown Plus.
No, we're going to
okay.
So, the program for sure.
Yeah, so that's how people can call into that. It's more of a chat room that I can control who talks and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good way to interact with people who want to be Gators Breakdown Plus members.
All right, let's jump ahead to the biggest topic. Right now, David, I've come out publicly and said who my top choices are to be the next coach. Who are yours?
Are we talking like do we think realistic or it doesn't matter?
Give me doesn't matter first.
Does it? Okay. It doesn't matter. I know what's not going to happen would be Dan Lanning.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
That's not going to happen. Exactly. I know. I will throw some realistic into it. Lane is my top. Lane might be my top anyway. He fits too well for what Florida fans want. I know there's maybe he's immature with all the Twitter stuff, and
I love it. I absolutely. Here's what I picture, Dave. I picture, it's the middle of the afternoon before practice starts at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock in Oxford. They got the offense meeting going, the defense meeting, special teams, whatever. Lane's sitting at his desk, tweeting, taking shots at Kirby. Did you see what he said about Kirby the other day?
There's another example of why he fits and why he needs to be on the Florida sideline.
So people, I think I mentioned it yesterday. They asked him in the press conference yesterday, who burns more calories, you or Kirby during a game? And Lane said, well, I just saw his press conference on TV. Doesn't look like he's burning too many calories.
Yeah. It just fits. That's what a lot of Gator fans want. It's for lack of better comparison, very Spurrier-esque in a lot of the ways he acts. And look, he's a good football coach too. I mean, I think we've seen it. What I hate, Shane, is the Dan Mullen comparison with Lane Kiffin. It is not even close to me. He's won much more consistently at Mississippi than Dan Mullen ever won at Mississippi State. And then people would throw recruiting in that comparison as well. I was like, okay, well, what do you want him to recruit at Ole Miss? I mean, Hugh Freeze couldn't do it without cheating and got caught for it. They've adapted very well. They have to go through the transfer portal. If they want to compete, that's what they have to do. Right. Florida doesn't have to do that. Florida can supplement with the portal while he can recruit better players here. So, and then with the current roster, I think he can step right in and do some good things. If the timing works out and players know and they have a decision to make coming up that, okay, well, that's going to be the guy, especially if you're on offense, there's a lot to want to play for there. So I think it's a great fit for what Florida needs on and off the field. I think support would be mostly through the roof with NIL and support. And to me, he's the most ready-made guy. I don't think there's not other good hot Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. If he's willing to make a move, he'd be near the top of my list. Those are my top two, and my top two by far, as far as maybe attainable guys.
Agreed, 100%. Brandon asked here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, how much involvement will Strickland have in the new hire?
I think he'll have some. He should as the AD. I don't think he, in this time, have final say, have full say. I mean, there's a board of trustees, and there's a lot that goes into. I don't even know if in a normal hire, if the athletic director has full say. But given the failures that we've seen in hiring a football coach so far, I think he'll be steered in a direction. I know a lot of people ask that question because there's a lot of rumors that he doesn't like Lane, and there may not be a good relationship there. You know what? There's a lot of people out there who work with people they don't like.
Exactly.
And sometimes you put it to the side for the betterment of the program, and maybe that's the worry. That some people don't, for whatever reason, don't think Scott Strickland has the betterment of the program in mind. So okay, if that's your viewpoint, I guess we can get on board with that. But I think when it all comes down to it, he can be steered in the Lane Kiffin direction.
Yeah, let's hope so. Monty says here on this is on the Titan Mart text line. Do you agree that if DJ was healthy and mobile, we wouldn't be having these conversations right now? It's amazing how one player can impact a team.
That's quarterback for you.
Yeah, I mean, quarterback's the most important position on the field, but I mean, look, the body of work for 4 years kind of tells you all you need to see, right? I don't care who's the quarterback.
Yeah, are there some limitations there because DJ can't run? Sure. The offense is still limited in a lot of ways too, with that. And look, we saw it at times last year, but Kentucky wasn't a very good team last year. But that was probably the best game where DJ started, and we got the full package of a DJ Lagway last year versus Kentucky. So you saw it at its best there. But there was still some of the, I think, mental aspects of the game that we have seen that he definitely got behind on because he couldn't practice in the offseason. I mean, the LSU game's a perfect example there, but there was a little bit of fire there Saturday against Texas A&M. He certainly didn't look very, very happy on the sideline. I know a lot of people threw him under the bus in previous games, Shane, where it doesn't look like he cared or he had a deer in the headlights look or not really what's going on. There was a little bit of passion and fire on the sideline against Texas A&M. And I think some of that was due because he was close to home and there was a lot of people in that stadium. It was a very personal game for him. But at the same time, I do think he might be at the point now where, hey, I am playing a little bit better and we are still getting these results. You know, what's going on here?
Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. A few more minutes with David Waters from Gators Breakdown. All right, back to the coaching. We've been talking about it for about a week or longer than that on here, and there's a lot of people that are asking questions. Let's use Lane and Ole Miss. Now, the next 2 weeks are huge for Ole Miss, Georgia, Oklahoma. But let's just say they do get in the playoffs. Do you have any worries about how long? My personal opinion, I don't give a damn if whoever our coach is plays for the national title. I don't care how long. I'm not worried about recruiting. You have to hire the correct coach. Are you on the same page there, or am I crazy to think that?
No, I think you have to hire the right coach. The part of the timeline that worries me the most, Shane, would be the current roster.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you get to the end of the season and the current roster still doesn't really know who might be the next head coach, do they, decide to, of course, with the new transfer portal window, you can wait till January. And that's a plus here. But they can go ahead and decide if there's not a decision made sometime in December. So to me, the biggest worry would be the current roster. If you wait till January to make some announcement, now to me, and maybe a coach doesn't want the distraction, but can't you just go ahead and make the announcement? And
right.
Okay, we're fine if you go through the playoff. We're fine if you don't get here. But at least to help yourself in some ways as well, if you're the next head coach, go ahead and get the ball rolling. Go ahead and it be announced. Now, it would be weird if you get really hot and you go on and hoist that trophy and you've already made a decision that you're going somewhere else. That would be a little bit weird. But
it would.
Ultimately, even, just minus that timeline, sure, I think you have to get the right guy in. It is about getting the right guy. Yeah, it might suck that you're punting on the next season in some ways because, you waited so long. But ultimately, look, history shows that the transition class is usually not that great anyway. No matter when that head coach comes in, your first high school recruiting class usually doesn't amount to much anyway. So you're not really losing a whole lot of value in that first recruiting class. It's more about that first portal class in your current roster. It is to me when you want to do that. But no, go get the right guy. It's more about the big picture than it is next year.
Yeah, and I think and like I said, maybe I'm in the minority. If you hire the right guy, he may want to keep some of the guys on the current roster. He may not give a damn about the kids on the current roster, but kids will want to play for him. That's the way I look at it. Real quick, somebody wanted to know here. Where is it? Here it is. Gator Man on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Pump, says, Shane, ask David where we can still find that foam head behind him. My daughter wants one.
Foam
head. I don't see it.
No, I have a foam finger.
Oh, the foam finger. Maybe that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's back there. Then there's a spinning gator helmet back there. I don't know, but that's usually. Oh, okay, yeah, that thing. Yeah, the foam gator head right there. Yeah, that was given to me years ago. You know what? That's funny. I haven't seen one in a long time. It was given me years ago. Yeah, I know. Hey, there's a marketing opportunity there. Somebody's listening.
There you go. Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon, Scott Strickland will be suspending Lane for his antics like he suspended our baseball coach for his. That's fine. He can suspend him for winning games. I don't know.
As long as he's here, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. David, tell everybody how they can listen to your program.
Yeah, Shane, everybody can get it there on YouTube, about 4 or 5 nights a week there on YouTube, and the podcast version as well, every podcast platform out there. And then become a member of Gators Breakdown Plus as well. Kind of going back to earlier, if you want to take place in those member chats, we have those once a week as well on Gators Breakdown Plus. So certainly we'll see what the next storylines are, but it's an eventful time, Shane, of talking Gator football.
Yeah, last one, a text here from Jimmy. He wants to know your thoughts on Kirk Cignetti. Do you want him at all?
I'd be fine with Kurt. The age doesn't bother me at all. I think he has shown a lot there. It started right away for him in Indiana. I do like that. So Lane's still top. I'd still like Freeman as well. But if Florida somehow got down the list a bit, he should be on it.
Yeah, I agree. David, good stuff as always. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you Saturday.
All right. See you, Shane.
That's David Waters from Gators Breakdown. Does a great job. Make sure you go check out his program for sure. Peachland Dental is Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Go check them out at peachlanddental.com. I want to thank JC and David Waters for joining us. Tomorrow's program will have Brent Beard, and then we'll have JC Wins. He and Zach, and I think Brian Edwards will give you all some picks. There's one other one I wanted to read here if I could find it. Michael Snyder says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, the writing will be on the wall if we are in January and waiting for the coach. I don't know what that means. Because the coach could be in the playoffs in January. They'll have that all figured out before then. So we'll see. All right, that's going to do it for today's program. Appreciate everybody chiming in. Couldn't get to everybody's questions, obviously, but I think we're all kind of asking the same thing. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.